Through the sands of time, across forgotten battlefields and sacred temples, the echoes of our ancestors still whisper. Their stories are carved in stone, sung in warrior chants, and passed down through bloodlines. But in the rush of modern life, many of these legends are fading into the past. Here, we bring them back to life. Welcome to the legends of antiquity, where history breathes, warriors rise, and the wisdom of the ancients still guides us today. From the great empires of Africa to the untold sagas of forgotten civilizations, we uncover the truth buried beneath time. I'm your host, Tuagiani Besa, and today we explore one of the greatest disruptors history has ever known, Shaka Zulu. Like all great revolutionaries, he was an outcast before he became a king, a man forced into exile by his own people, only to return and reshape the world around him. Because sometimes, when a system grows stagnant, when traditions become chains instead of stepping stones, it takes an outcast to break it apart and rebuild it stronger. This is the story of Shaka Zulu, the warrior king who changed history, a system in need of disruption. For generations, power in southern Africa was divided among many small scattered chiefdoms. These societies followed the old ways, resisting change, locked in cycles of minor conflicts and survival-based rule. The Sanbushmen and Khoik Hoi were the original inhabitants of the land, living as hunter-gatherers for thousands of years. Their rock paintings and spiritual traditions spoke of a time before nations and wars, before the clash of kingdoms. By 300, 500 AD, Bantu migration swept through southern Africa, bringing iron tools, agriculture, and the warrior cultures that would later dominate the land. The Nguni-speaking tribes, ancestors of the Zulu, emerged during this period, but their power remained fragmented, unorganized, held back by old traditions. Among them, the Zulu were just a minor clan, living in the shadow of stronger tribes like the Midwandwe and Titwa. They followed the same traditions, fought the same small battles, and stayed within the limits set by those before them. But history tells us that true change doesn't come from those inside the system, it comes from those cast out. The birth of an outcast. Shaka Zulu was born in 1787, the son of Chief Senzangakona and Nandi. But because his parents' union wasn't recognized, he was rejected by his own people. He and his mother were cast out, forced to live as outsiders, moving from village to village, never truly belonging. He was mocked, beaten, and looked down upon. But adversity forges warriors, and exile became his training ground. While others followed the old ways, Shaka watched, learned, and adapted. He saw the flaws in their traditions, the weaknesses in their battle tactics, the cracks in their leadership. He realized that if he ever got the chance, he wouldn't change the Zulu way, he would rewrite it entirely, breaking the old system. For generations, Southern African warfare had followed the same stagnant strategy: light skirmishes, throwing spears from a distance, brief engagements, and quick retreats. Shaka saw the inefficiency of it. If the Zulu were to survive, they needed a new way to fight. The Ikulu, short stabbing spears. No more throwing spears. Shaka forced warriors into close combat, where skill and strength decided the battle. The horns of the buffalo formation, a three-part strategy: engage, encircle, and eliminate. No more indecisive skirmishes. Endurance-based training. He forced his warriors to run barefoot for miles, outlasting and outmaneuvering their enemies. Shield combat. Instead of passive defense, his warriors used large shields to hook, disarm, and dominate their opponents. Every aspect of battle was rebuilt from the ground up, and within years, the Zulu warriors became an unstoppable force. The return of the outcast. When Dingiswayo was killed, Shaka didn't just step into power. He tore down the old structure and built a new empire from scratch through a mix of psychological warfare, diplomacy, and brutal conquest. He crushed rival clans, expanding Zulu dominance across southern Africa. His warriors were no longer just fighters. They were a brotherhood, an elite force, a match in discipline and efficiency. But his impact didn't just change Africa, it rippled across the world. Shaka's military genius forced the British Empire to rethink its strategies. The Anglo-Zulu War of 1879 saw the Zulu warriors crush British forces at Isandlwana, shocking the world and proving that a disciplined African army could defeat a global superpower. This forced Britain to divert military resources to Africa, affecting its imperial reach elsewhere, including India, delaying British expansion. If Britain hadn't faced strong resistance in Africa, it might have expanded its control over India much earlier and with greater force. Inspiring anti-colonial movements, Shaka's defiance became a symbol of resistance, inspiring future uprisings, including in India, where revolutionaries studied how colonial powers responded to strong indigenous leaders. Rewriting military tactics, the British Army adapted to counter the Zulu style of warfare, influencing how they trained troops not only in Africa, but in India and other colonies. Shaka's impact on history is bigger than just Africa. He changed the way empire and resistance functioned worldwide. Shaka built an empire, but he also made enemies. His radical changes, his destruction of old traditions, and his ruthless ambition led to his downfall. He was assassinated in 1828 by his own half-brothers who feared that he had become too powerful, too different, too uncontrollable. But even in death, his systems, his ideas, and his warrior spirit remained embedded in the Zulu people. The lesson: systems resist change, but they can't stop it forever. The power of the outcast. Shaka Zulu's story is not just about conquest, it's about disruption. He was an outcast who forced a stagnant system to evolve. He broke the old rules, redefined warfare, and turned a minor clan into a mighty empire. His impact stretched far beyond Africa. His defiance against empire sent ripples across the world, shaping colonial resistance from Africa to India. His legend is complex, part hero, part tyrant, part visionary, but one thing is certain: the world will never forget Shaka Zulu. Thank you for joining me on the Legends of Antiquity. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and share. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge, keep honoring history, and stay blessed.